Today on the show, we talk about healing. I welcome Shreya Choudhary.
Trauma could be as simple as feeling underconfident before giving a speech on the stage.
Really?
Yeah, because that can have some other impact on you. I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy. People are going out on innumerable smoke breaks, getting distracted, coffee, food, binge eating, retail therapy, just going shopping randomly and splurging money. Why? Because to escape from something, high functioning trauma has now become like a way of living. The pace at which we are going, there are high chances we might crash with what we are holding. Like the baggage is going to turn heavier and heavier day by day. Your mind knows how to process trauma, but your body does not. If you're suppressing, if you're regressing your trauma, magically it's not going to disappear. It has to come off in some way.
How do you define a crash?
Yeah, there could be an emotional shutdown. There is something called as Alexithymia where you're not feeling anything. And that's a little very scary feeling.
Welcome to the Rita Date Date show, where you find information on M&M, mind, nutrition, movement. Information all backed by science. Today on the show, we talk about healing. What does healing mean? When do we need healing? And maybe we need it when we don't even think we do. What needs healing? Today on the show, I welcome Shreya Choudhary. Shreya is a psychologist and sound healer, and she brings together therapy, sound healing, and somatics, and we'll understand what all those things mean to help us understand our bodies, help us understand our mind by regulating the nervous system. And she uses other reflective practices to bring it all together and help us heal in a softer way. You know, we don't just, we want to get help fast, we want to get better fast. It doesn't always happen, and she explains why, and why in long run that is better for you. So I'm very happy to have her here. Shreya, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So you came into the studio about a couple months ago, and you talked about your work, and you mentioned specifically about trauma, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So explain, I mean, trauma is being used a lot these days. We have yoga-informed trauma, this-informed trauma. And as a psychologist, I know that you are qualified to talk about it. So can you explain to us what it means and explain trauma to us.
Yeah, I think in today's time, trauma has taken so many different forms and understandings catering to different sides of population. But for me, trauma is anything and everything that can happen to any one of us under the sun. For example, when you hear the word trauma, what comes into our mind? I think something really big and something very catastrophic like a accident or like a death of someone. Sure, that is traumatic. But trauma can also be as simple as, getting punished in your school, heartbreak, absence of a parent. It could be anything. It only depends on the threshold as a person holds to process, to regulate, and to understand what trauma is. So trauma, to simplify trauma, especially for me as a therapist, I classify them, and most of us practitioners classify them as big T's and small T's. So the big T's are your bigger traumas. For example, like I just said, a tsunami, the pandemic that we all went through.
Yeah, that was a big one.
It was a big one. It could be an accident. It could be,
like they say, childhood traumas.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone blames the mom for everything. So is that also trauma?
Depends on how the childhood was.
Okay.
But yes, it could be. Trauma in the childhood usually shows up in the adulthood as your attachment styles, and it usually seeps into your relationships, and maybe we'll talk about that later. But I don't know why childhood trauma has been so glorified. I think trauma is anything and everything around you, basically. Trauma could be as simple as feeling underconfident before giving a speech on the stage.
Really?
Yeah, because that can have some other impact on you. I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy. I'm not good. I'm not great. So that is coming from something.
Okay.
And that something is what we need to deep dive into. So trauma is really subjective, is what I can say.
Okay, all right. So it's okay to use those words. So,
yeah, it is, but then it's also used like, I'm traumatized today. This was traumatic. So I think sometimes it's over exaggerated and also a little dramatic. So people need to be a little more specific and narrowed down when they're using words like trauma.
That I think is, I mean, that's the terminology these days. But what I'm saying, like, trauma-informed yoga, trauma-informed healing. Is that okay? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. I'm not very sure about what is trauma-informed yoga.
Yeah.
But from what I understand and why I picked up trauma later in my life after having a degree in psychology was because I felt something was incomplete in that loop of understanding people, and there used to be a different sort of a way. Like therapy is very structured. Trauma therapy is not at all structured. It's everywhere. It's like a hodgepodge. It's messy. And I love that about it. So sometimes I feel trauma-informed yoga is basically, I feel you want to reach to a person where words cannot reach. So trauma, again, coming back to trauma and your body, your mind knows how to process trauma, but your body does not. And both work a little differently.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So your bodies, they say, and I believe, there's this book, a very famous book called As the Body Keeps Score. Have you heard about it?
I've heard of this book, yes.
You should read about it too. It's really interesting. And it says how when you don't understand what you're going through, the experience that you're going through, your body's collecting them inside of it because somewhere it has to be stored.
Yes, yes.
And if you're suppressing, if you're regressing your trauma, magically it's not going to disappear. It has to come off in some way. So, people in my sessions walk in with unexplained symptoms, migraines, backaches, leg aches, psychosomatic symptoms, and there's no medical diagnosis for it. And then when you dive deeper and deeper and deeper, that's when you understand, oh, maybe the root cause was emotional association to your physical symptom. So I think trauma-informed yoga comes there where you want to release.
Yes, it's a release.
Yeah.
I just want to have you explain it, or we should explain what it means. A release, an emotional release. And like you said, the body.
Correct.
The body holds everything.
Absolutely.
So doing some practices could help open it up.
Yeah, because sometimes not everyone would be comfortable speaking words or maybe even understand or be aware of your words. So I think body movements are easier and much more deeper to reach to.
What are the signs that person does need some type of help, therapy, that we should look out for? I mean, we know when we see our friends, we think, oh, they need a therapist. But as a professional, can you tell us the signs?
Right. When you're talking about this, I can recollect one of my virtual sessions, and I'll keep it completely confidential. But I think she came to me because I think her parents had sent her to take sessions, and she was absolutely clueless that what do I do here? I don't know why I'm here. And we were talking. It was a very normal, candid conversation, and somewhere I just asked her about her college or something like that. And suddenly she had this ache from her jaw to her shoulder, like unexplained ache. Like she was like, twitching and turning and massaging her neck. And I just asked her, what's happening? Like, why are you uncomfortable? And she's like, I don't know. Whenever I have few memories or whenever I think about certain things, this is what happens. So that was one of the signs that sometimes your body is trying to tell you certain things. Many times we go back home and we sleep popping a dolo or something because we have a headache. And we feel, oh, it was a long day, it was a busy day, maybe I'm too tired. But what all happened in that day that led to this particular feeling, maybe, a stressful meeting, a very uncomfortable conversation with your manager, all of these things can trigger certain emotions in you. And you might catch yourself feeling anxious out of nowhere. For example, many times I have seen people sitting on a desk and tapping their foot. Like something is happening and they're not understanding what, but they're just restless. So that's a way their body is trying to tell you that, that this is where you need to focus on. Something is bothering you, so please listen to it. People are going out on innumerable smoke breaks, getting distracted. Why? Because I think they're going through something, but they don't want to deal with it right away, and then they distract themselves by that. Coffee, food, binge eating is one of,
that's a big one.
That's a big one. A very common thing, which I think I'm also a victim to, but retail therapy. Just going shopping randomly and splurging money. Why? Because
you don't even have to go out. Do it on your phone, right?
Exactly. So I think when you catch yourself doing certain things without being mindful and without being aware, that's when you should come back to your bodies and self and ask, why am I doing this? Is there any reason? Is there a very important reason, or I'm just doing it to escape from something, to take control of something, to prove something to someone? As simple as that. I think when you start talking to yourself day in and day out, that's when you'll understand what's been happening. So really subtle signs of everything, as simple as not falling asleep. People take a lot of melatonin patches and gummies and all of that, thinking it's very natural and it's very normal and all of us go through it. No, not at all. Like a circadian rhythm has to fall in place. If it's not fallen in place, that means that you're doing something wrong. And what are you doing wrong? That is something you need to track down to. So to summarize what you just said, all of these little signs which are not natural to your body, which are now occurring to you, are signs where you need to ponder and ask yourself, why is it happening? And that's the reason why you might need help, you might need therapy, or you might need any other additional alternative healing technique, etc.
I have a question. As far as terminology goes, is there any difference between trauma and stress? I mean, everybody is stressed out. I mean, it is true. People, especially, we just have too much happening in our lives, especially if you're working 9 to 5, getting to work, taking care of the kids, getting food on the table, managing everything. It is quite stressful, and the stress level has never been higher in India.
Yeah.
So is it similar thing? Is it?
I think stress, to put it in a simpler way, I think stress is the onset of trauma. If stress is not taken care of, not understood well, it can seep down into trauma as well, because long-term stress, leads to burnout, and burnout is like a massive circle that can then, get categorized into trauma as well. So, stress has two categories. One is eustress and one is distress. Eustress is the good kind of stress which enables you to do things in the day, or else we wouldn't even get up from our beds to go anywhere. But the distress is, that question mark, the gray area where not looked into can lead to larger things like trauma as well.
So another thing we talked about is high functioning trauma. That is like a person who, everything is going well for them. They have, they're doing well in their career, or, everything is going well. The kids are doing well, but there's some internal thing happening. So you were talking about that internal trauma. Can you talk a little bit about that and what signs people should look out for? A lot of my listeners are high functioning individuals. So just explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think why are we high functional about, let's say, trauma or any other mental health issues is because as long as it's not seen, it's not visible, it's not accountable. As long as you get up and are functioning, you're doing okay. Unless, your productivity hampers, and that's when you're asked questions about, what just happened? And I think we're just too busy to take a deeper dive within us and to really, talk to us. I think one of the techniques that I use as a trauma-focused therapy is correcting narratives. What narratives do you speak to yourself in? And if your narrative is, this is fine, I think I'll get over this, chuck it, let's spark this thought and we'll do this later. That later never comes. Because it's work. When you sit with that thought, it's going to be small, subtle choices that you're going to make. And the opposite of trauma is choices. People don't want to take choices because I think we all are in some way in some of the comfort zone, and walking out of the comfort zone is very difficult. So high functioning trauma has now become like a way of living. They see it as, it's a push, like it's pushing us to do something.
We're excelling. We're achieving.
We're achieving something because there's some hook to it, but because of this, I have to do this. So it has taken that form, which I feel to some extent is a little unhealthy also, because the pace at which we are going, there are high chances we might crash with what we are holding. Like the baggage is going to turn heavier and heavier day by day.
How do you define a crash?
Yeah, there could be an emotional shutdown. There could be a very loud emotional reaction to it. There could be where you're completely detached. There is something called as Alexithymia, where you're not feeling anything. And that's a little very scary feeling that you're not able to feel joy, you're not able to feel anger, because you're completely in that cocoon of feeling is too scary, so I'm not going to feel anything. So that's also a very unhealthy trauma response of extreme, of crashing is what you say.
So do you recommend that they go to a psychiatrist and get medication?
Yeah.
Maybe everyone is different.
Yeah.
But that sounds like something that would need help,
Absolutely.
more help.
No, I think psychiatry is a little extreme of the scale, because I personally believe a combination of psychotherapy and psychiatry can do wonders. Only sometimes can be a little too harsh and severe, because the medications, although do help you, but they also build dependency. So once you start taking them, and the feeling is amazing because they're playing with your neurotransmitters. Like suddenly, for years, you don't have a dopamine shot at all. Just serotonin levels are here and there, and suddenly, when everything is regulated, you feel, oh my god, like this is calm, this is zen, and then you want to take more of it rather than doing
Right.
the actual work. So I think that is like the last call, psychiatry, especially for like really severe psychotic disorders, which cannot really be treated by therapy. But I think both hand in hand can work very well for many of the people together.
No, I agree with you. But I agree with you. I talked to one psychiatrist. He was on my show, I think, and he said that, you know, taking medication, these medications is like taking statin. You need them, and there's nothing wrong with them, even if you have to take it lifelong.
Yeah.
So, you know, it should not deter people from taking it, but like you said, you should work on yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
You just don't take, just popping the pill won't be enough and should not be enough. You need to do other work. So I think that's the message.
Because that's what we are naturally designed to do, right? Like gathering ourselves and pulling ourselves back. Sure, you need that reset button every now and then, which is the medication, but you're also capable and you have the strength, so why not find it? Because I think when you do that, you unleash a different side to yourself, which is much more aware and much more powerful than before. So I think hand in hand together, both the practices is the way to go.
So when somebody comes to you for psychotherapy, how do you decide what healing modalities they need?
Yeah. No, that's a tricky question, to be very honest.
And that's also very individual. I know,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's mostly talk therapy at your
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
So when do they need sound healing, or you just suggest that?
Right.
And let's talk about sound healing. You need a certain amount to get the right frequency, right?
Correct.
Like you need once a week, because I've heard this, and I just want you to explain it to people. Like, how often should you do sound healing to get the benefits? And
Right. Right. I think we'll go back to your earlier question first, and
Yes.
then I'll link it to sound healing
Okay.
later. So when I started this practice, I think the first thing that they train you as a student, as a newbie, is CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and REBT, which is rational emotional behavioral therapy. And these techniques are so structured and so formula based and equation based. It's basically like you're sitting with a script. You know what to say when the client says something else. And personally, I am not that kind of a person. I cannot go from an equation to a formula to actually having a conversation with a person. So when I was having that with people, I could see so much shutting down and resistance, and people are getting annoyed at what is happening, etc., etc. It's only when I started exploring different sort of techniques. So there was CBT, REBT, the psychodynamic, which is now, I don't think a lot of people use them, but it was there earlier, to trauma-focused therapy, to trauma-informed counseling, now to somatics, which is one of the branches of it is sound healing. I think I just found my niche by doing multiple techniques, and it's never one size fits all for any client. If you ask me what techniques do I use, I would say it's all a mixed bag, it's eclectic. I wouldn't say, okay, for this client it's only trauma-informed and for this client it's only CBT. Some people are very, we are human beings and we are blessed with a mind. So sometimes people do rationalize and intellectualize everything, and for them I feel CBT is the way to go. But some people are more feeling oriented. They want to talk about feelings and emotions, who can feel feelings more usually. For them I usually take the other route, which is trauma focused and sound healing and etc. And while doing all of this, because I've been working as a psychologist for 7 years, and I thought, something is coming in my way. I am understanding them, but am I really getting to their bodies and getting into their worlds and understanding them completely? And that's when I thought I need something else. And I just visited somebody in my life who was a sound healer, and she just told me about sound healing, and she also helped me with a sound bath. And what it did to me was incredible. It was a gong bath, actually. Have you been to a gong bath before?
No.
Gongs, like huge gongs. No singing bowls, they were just gongs, and she was playing the gongs. And they say that gongs are more expansive, so they lead to more expansive emotions when you hear them. She stopped playing the gong, and after 10 minutes there were only tears rolling. Like, I don't know why. What just happened? And she gave me that space, and later she asked me, Shreya, you know what happened? I said, no, I don't understand what's happening. She said, you released something out of you. the sounds actually reached to your nervous system. You felt safe and you surrendered, and something just released. I don't know what, you don't know what, so just leave it in silence. And that's the power of sound and frequencies. I think it's nothing magical. It's not like your organs need this particular frequency, so you're playing the bowl. It's none of that. I don't know why it's marketed like that. I think during sounds, what happens is as you're lying down, slowly and steadily, your breath starts improving. When your breath starts improving, your awareness surfaces, and when your awareness surfaces, there's something that's happening which is called as alignment. And as I'm speaking, I can speak to you about this one particular client here in breathing room when I was having my sound bath. He told me one night before that, I think I can't come because I have this kidney stone problem. I'm not able to sit. But in the morning, he did come. He showed up. And then we went through the entire bath. And in the night, he messaged me, you know what, my stone passed. I don't know what happened, but it just passed. And I said, maybe that's what you needed to do. You needed to just let go and surrender, because I think breath, as simple as it is, it's extremely powerful. It's the breath that happens when you come into the life and the breath that leaves when you go out. So it's a play of breath.
Begins and starts with the breath, yeah.
Yes. So I think sound healing just synchronizes and, aligns your rhythm to what you are, and your breath just deepens and solidifies, and that's what it is. So I think in trauma, even in yoga, it's all about breath work, right?
Yes.
You're holding your
yoga.
asanas and you're breathing. It's so simple, but it's very underrated. I think it all comes down to
what is happening, it's all about the body.
Yeah.
So people are going to the gym and like they're doing yoga for fitness, which is fine. I mean, all of this is fine, but you have to see what you need, right?
Yeah.
The gym membership, if you look at the numbers, gym memberships have gone up, the number of gyms have gone up, fitness centers all types of fitness centers they're doing well, and their numbers are increasing, but our health hasn't.
Yeah.
So obviously we need something else. So something you mentioned, can you explain to the audience what somatics means? Because they may not know that.
I think somatics is a bridge between physical and emotional. Somatics is when you're healing or you're trying to understand your own bodily sensations. It could be your breath, it could be touch, it could be what you see. Everything that your sensations play a role comes under somatics, is what I can say. So when you combine that with your psychotherapeutic practice, it becomes a much more deeper and a much more intense medium to understand who you are as a person. I think so. Yeah.
It's hard to open up.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you just hard to open up. When you do have a sound healing session, it's in a group. So does that hinder them, or because they're on their own, actually. Nobody's really talking to each other. I'm just asking if that opening up in general is difficult.
Right. I think every sound healer has a very different approach to conduct a sound bath. For me, I usually tell them to set an intention while they're entering into a sound bath. That what do they want out of it, and when they're onto their mats, I think they're also visualizing their intention, and every time the sound reaches them, maybe there's something, some sort of alignment, some sort of awareness, some conclusion that they're reaching with the intention. But yeah, as you say, people feel unsafe, and I think the core of everything is, I have understood, is people just want to be heard. That's all, and there is no space as such where people can just sit and talk, and there's somebody who's actually listening. Yes.
We had this discussion about.
Yes, it's so special, like people pay money and people go to lengths to just find that one person who can actually listen to them, because that's not a space at all. And I think in the sound bath, what you actually are doing is listening to your own self. It's like a very individualistic sort of a session that you're having with your own bodies. So people can open up, cannot open up. It really depends on the ambience that you set, the tone of your voice. Are you welcoming enough? Are you making?
And you definitely are. Your voice is amazing.
Thank you so much.
It's calming. It's explain things well. But yeah, sorry, I didn't. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that compliment. So I think all of this do matter if people really want to open up. Do they feel safe? Do they feel that if I open up, will it be safe here? I think all of these are very important factors. And yes, usually the space is not available, so people hold it on to themselves. That's what's happening.
I think it's a great combination. It took me a while to really, I never did a sound bath till a few months ago, and I've been in this field for so long, the wellness field. But it was, I had one good sound bath, and then I had it was okay. But then the other sound bath I had was amazing. So I really understood.
Yeah.
And like if you think about it, the power of sound. Look at music. What music does to people.
Absolutely.
Sad, happy. How music it means so much to people. So you can imagine if you are sitting with yourself and letting the sounds vibrate. The om. I mean, all that is very, very impactful.
Everything is sound basically,
Yes,
right? Everything
yes.
around us is sound. The sound of our voice right now, the breath, the sound of the AC. Everything around is sound. So the minute you start taking note of everything macro and micro, I think you're tuned to yourself. And I think consciousness is what we need to reach to.
Presence and consciousness, yeah.
Yes. And sounds take you through that, I feel.
Right.
It's a very grounding sort of a feeling with sounds. So, yeah.
So Shreya, thank you so much. This was an interesting conversation. And if people want to know more about you, where can they go?
Okay, so I have a small studio. It's by the name of Healin, and I usually take my sessions from there. I practice there, and I also take my personal counseling sessions in that studio. You can reach out to me on Instagram. I have a page called Heal In Counseling Services, and there's also a website that you can type in. It's called healin.in.
We'll put that all in the show notes.
Yes. Absolutely. And we have just recently launched an initiative by Healin, which is sound healing, and we have named it as Kosha, which is basically layers, that you travel through your layers to ultimately meet who you are, which is yourself, which is your Atman. So that was the goal for Kosha.
I love that. Nice name.
Yeah. So that's a very new leg to Healin. So that's where I am at present. Yeah.
Okay. And we look forward to having many more sessions here.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes.
It was beautiful hosting one here.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.